Leo Rautins, the Raptors television analyst, former 76er, by the way, drafted by the Sixers. He joins us now here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And, Leo, we saw a different Sixer team last night than the one we saw in Game 1 and Game 2. That one was maybe the most complete team we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. And, in truth, you're looking towards Game 3. The idea would be that, coming back home, that would be a game where your stars, meaning, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Simmons, they would step up and have a big game. And, Butler had a second big game. And, of course, Embiid had a tremendous game. So not a big surprise that you would get that from them, with everything on the line. A bigger surprise, the Raptors pretty much laid an egg. Their defense went out the window and had continued having trouble making shots. And the reality was it's not necessarily the defense of Philly. It was more their inability to make good decisions on what shots to take. So frustrating game for the Raptors, great game for the Sixers. Yeah, now you've been around the Raptors all season long. How many times have you seen them look that shell-shocked, if you will? You know what? It wasn't even looking shell-shocked. It's just that for some reason, and they've had bouts of this during the season, where it's your key players aren't even looking at the basket. And if you look at, you can go over and look at a lot of replays, and there'll be plays where the ball movement's tremendous. I mean, you got 5 or 6 passes, but nobody's looking at the basket. And all of a sudden, the guy that has to look at the basket now because the clock's down ends up taking a terrible shot. Or you overpass and you end up committing a turnover. And, you need players like Kyle Lowry, like Marc Gasol, some of the bench players, Serge Ibaka, to step up and take and make some shots. And unless you do that, I mean, it's going to be this series not going to last very long. I mean, you have to take your shots when you have them.
What has surprised you more, Leo? Is it the absence of the bench that was such a strong point for them? Or is it kind of the lack of a third scorer among the starters that has really stepped up outside of Kawhi and Siakam?
Really both. I mean, for the bench to just disappear like that, quite honestly, we haven't seen that all season, even with injuries and all kinds of situations that cropped up during the season. That's not something we saw in Toronto. As far as the third scorer, again, that's a unique situation as well. Kyle Lowry, same thing. That Kyle's had situations where he's gone away from looking at the basket and then realizing, okay, this team's not going to win unless he looks for his own offense as well. So, again, he's experienced that, but not on a scale where really you have to step up. I mean, when your team is struggling and those opportunities are there to score, you got to take them. And, if one other guy steps up, you're in pretty good shape because, obviously Pascal Siakam, he's a young guy. He's going to make some mistakes, but he's doing a lot of good things out there. Kawhi Leonard's been off the charts. And if you maintain the defense that you played, the last 6 games in the playoffs, you maintain that defense and just get a third scorer to step up, you're going to have a shot. And for some reason, it's just not there right now.
What's the mood in Toronto right now? Because obviously here, it's excitement. Philly's up 2-1. Brett Brown's pressed all the right buttons. Embiid showed up. Jimmy showed up when it matters. But in Toronto, is there panic that this is it for Kawhi now? He's running out the door. They need to win that series for him. Nick Nurse, is there any criticism surrounding him? Like, what's the mood there right now? And is there any narrative that's sticking out over the others?
Well, I mean, there's always panic in Toronto. I mean, just based on history, there's always panic, and which it's to some degree doesn't make sense because you got a whole different kind of environment. But at the same time, they're faced with a difficult situation right now, and there have been questions as far as decisions on rotations and substitutions, and other questions of guys, just not stepping up at the time they need to, especially in light of how well Kawhi Leonard's playing. So this, Game 4 is going to be a big game. I mean, the Raptors are going to have to step up and obviously play a heck of a lot better. And I think the other thing, too, is if you look at the playoffs for the Raptors, this playoffs, not this year, not this series, the last series, sorry, I'm just outside here. If you look at their playoff series, I mean, their defense has been tremendous and their effort has been tremendous. They're among the top teams, and taking charges, recovering loose balls, transition off their offense. And right now, that's kind of gone out the window, especially in last game. So you have to step up in those areas. I mean, those are hustle plays, those are effort plays, and that's something that's been a strong characteristic of this team.
Of all the things that have happened in these 3 games, Leo, what has kind of disrupted the Raptors the most?
Honestly, I don't think it's one thing that's disrupted them. I think it's just doing what they're supposed to do. It does sound very simplistic, but if you go back and watch the games, the amount of shots that they have, good looks, and they're just not taking, is crazy. Or you have a good shot, and all of a sudden now you're going to try to go into Embiid and test him down low, or you have a mid-range and you're going to take an extra long 3. The decision making and the recognition of the shots is just not there. Marc Gasol actually made a good point before Game 3. He said, it's not about taking more shots; it's about your opportunities when they're there. And I think that's the biggest thing for the Toronto Raptors right now is they're not taking their opportunities when they have them. With Philly's length, the way they're playing right now, the confidence, you just can't miss those opportunities or you're in big trouble.
Well, let me ask you, Leo, do you think the length of the Sixers has been an issue? And not just Embiid. I mean, he obviously gives everybody problems, but I think Jimmy had 2 blocks. Tobias Harris had a block yesterday. There have been several passes that you've seen Ben Simmons be able to get his arms on. I mean, the Sixers, that's what they are. They're a very tall, length-driven team. Is that at all giving Toronto more of a difficulty, you think?
Well, I mean, it's a factor, no doubt. But, after Game 1, who was talking about the length of Philly? So
it was the other way around. It was the other way around. That they were talking about the Raptors' length.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are writing Philly off. I mean, just like no different than, a lot of people started writing Milwaukee off after Game 1 in their series with Boston. So, we're getting that kind of reaction in the playoffs, which are a little bit extreme both ways. But, for the Raptors, the length, Philly's length is a factor, but not to the extent that they can't get shots and, have great opportunities to score. One of the things that when you do have length, Raptors have enough smarts and quickness and ability to get good looks, or you have all the attention focused on the Kawhi Leonard. How many times did he kick it out to somebody wide open and you're just not making shots? I think the Raptors only made 15 out of 50 wide open shots in Game 3. And when you're not making shots, you're not going to. I don't care if you're playing long or short. You're not going to win games.
What's the adjustment in Game 4 that needs to be made for Toronto? What area wins them this game and ties it up and sends it back to Toronto 2-2? Is it the bench battle? Is it rebounding? Is it Embiid in foul trouble? What's one area that you guys are looking at up north that you say, if we win this game, it's going to be tied up?
Well, I think if you just want to simplify it as much as possible, I'd say you got to win the glass because the Raptors have been getting killed on the offensive board, and that creates all kinds of other situations of easy baskets and free throw opportunities for Philadelphia. And also, with the free throw opportunities, you got dead ball situations, so the game slows down. So you got to rebound. And the second thing is, again, it's a make or miss league. And if you're not going to make shots, you're not going to win. And the Raptors are in a situation right now where, from February 9th on, they were the number 1 three-point shooting team in the league. And now you can't make a basket. So you have to find a way to get through that. You have to find a way to get your rhythm. And the way to get your rhythm is to take your shot aggressively. So hopefully between the boards and making a shot, they can get back in this thing.
All right, Sunday, 3:30, 97.3 ESPN. Leo Rautins, who, of course, the former Sixer and now part of the Raptors television team. He joined us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Leo, enjoy the game on Sunday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.